Hey guys, welcome back. So today's topic is API. So in today's session, we are going to cover the following topics as you can see on your screen. So let's get started. Now API, right? So API, it stands for Application Programming Interface, right? Now it is the mechanism through which two applications, that is application A and application B, that is built using completely different technical architecture, they can communicate with each other, right? Now let's try to understand this with the help of some examples. So somewhere or the other, you guys might have used these applications. One is Spotify and another is Facebook. Now, in which cases these two applications, they need to communicate with each other, right? So let's try to understand this with the help of one simple scenario. So let's say for an example, I am a new user of Spotify and I want to sign up into the Spotify application. Now, Spotify basically it provides two different options in order to sign up. One option is I can manually enter my email address and all other details, and I can sign up using that. Or I can use my Facebook account credentials in order to sign up into the Spotify application. Now, if we observe carefully, right, if we look at the option two, here actually we need not to enter all our credentials all over again. And basically, right, using the Facebook account details, I can sign up into the Spotify application, right? Now, this is cool, isn't it? Because I need not to re-enter all my details all over again. And there could be tons of applications, right, that we use in our in day-to-day lives. And it is a bit boring also and time consuming to enter all these details again. So if we look carefully or elaborate a bit, here what Spotify is doing is Spotify is basically asking Facebook to authenticate its user on their behalf. So what Facebook will do is it will basically check whether this particular user it exists in my database or not, right? And if yes, then it will allow that user to sign up into the Spotify application. Now this is good, isn't it? Because it saves a lot of time of us as a user to enter all the details again and again, right? Spotify need not to perform this authentication function itself. It can actually use this Facebook service to authenticate a user. Now, this is what API means, guys. How simple it is, isn't it? So this is what API means. Now let's try to understand this more with some more examples. So as you can see on my screen, there is one tea shop, right? Now this tea shop is offering various different products like tea, coffee, snacks, and whatsoever. But here there is one rule. Okay. Now the rule is you need to purchase a token for a product first, and then only you can purchase that product. As simple as that, right? Now, once upon a time, there was one user, right, or a consumer. He actually went to this tea shop. He was new, right? So he went to the tea shop counter and he simply asked, "Give me tea." Now, tea shop counter, he said, "Token, please," right? Now, he went to the token counter in order to purchase a token, tea token to be more specific, right? He purchased a tea token. He showed that tea token to the tea shop counter. And finally, tea was delivered, right? And he consumed the tea happily. Now, you guys might be wondering, right, how this example relates with API, right? But to be honest, API or two applications will also be working exactly the same way, guys. So if we look at our earlier example of Facebook, if you see here, Spotify is one application, right? It is trying to communicate with the Facebook in order to use the authentication service that is provided of Facebook in order to communicate, right? Now, Facebook is an application, right, that is providing a service, but it won't provide that service uh, to everyone, right? It needs to authenticate a user first. So it needs to authenticate that which app is for actually wants to use its service. Now, again, one more thing, right? If we look at this tea shop example, right? Here, why do we need a token? That is a question, right? So we'll say, come on, right? Uh, just to have a tea, isn't it? Yeah, that's true. But in other words, can we say that here we are actually authenticating a user? Authenticating in a way that whether this particular client should be able to access my resource or product. T in this case to be more specific, right? Because if you look here at the very first step, while this client is asking for a T, he was denied, right? He was asked for, not denied actually, but he was asked to provide a T token, first of all, right? Now, providing right to ask this T token, right? So this is the authentication process. Can we say that? Because the moment he showed a T token, he was delivered that resource. So in the similar way, APIs will also work, guys. So Facebook will verify or authenticate a client, right? That whether he is authorized to use the authentication service or not. Because tomorrow I'll say, I'm, let's say for an example, building some application and straight away I go to Facebook to use the authentication service. Can I use that? I can use, but I need to prove, first of all, that I am authorized to access that service. As simple as that. Now, let's try to understand this with one more diagram to be more specific, right? So here one is a tea consumer, another is a tea provider. First of all, we are asking for a tea. So tea provider will be asking for a tea token, right? So that is the user authentication process. Finally, we'll be showing a T token. Finally, T will be delivered, as simple as that. Now, instead of considering this as a T consumer and T provider, consider this as two different applications that needs to communicate with each other. And this is how API or two applications, they will communicate with each other. So this is the whole purpose of API, guys, right? Now let's try to understand this more with some more examples, right? Now, before that, uh, let's have a look at this picture, right? Now here, if you see, right, this is a ChatGPT website, and this is the pricing detail of ChatGPT. Now you might be wondering why we are seeing this. There is a reason for that, right? So as we said that first of all, you need to authenticate a user, right? Because not everyone can access that resource. But that can't be a case always, guys. So if we look at our T example here, one more reason for authenticating the user is this T is not free in nature. I mean, this resource is not accessible to everyone, basically. Or in order to purchase a T token, you need to provide some money. Then and then only you can purchase a T token. Or in other words, this T is not free in nature or is not accessible to everyone, right? Let's say for an example, if this T is free in nature, meaning there is let's say for an example, there is a guy who is offering tea to everyone, right? So in that case, everyone can consume that tea and there is no need of user authentication there, isn't it so, right? So similarly, in API world also, some of the APIs, they can be accessed freely or they are the open source APIs or public APIs in other words, right? And there are certain APIs that can be accessible by a certain set of clients, as we saw in our tea shop example. So that is not free in nature. So some pricing is associated with that, right? So similar thing is with APIs also, right? We'll cover this topic in our next session while we cover the types of APIs. But for now, this much you should keep in mind, okay? Now let's try to understand this more with one more example. Oh, I'm feeling bit hungry, right? Ah, with hunger, right? One thing came in my mind, right? We have an food ordering app called as a Zomato. We can use Zomato in order to order the food, isn't it? Now, you guys might have used Zomato application or some other food ordering app, various different types. But there is one feature, I want you to focus on one feature for now, and that is we can track our food order, right? Actually, as you can see on your screen. Now, Zomato is a food ordering app. It is not a location tracker app, right? So let's say, so for an example, let's assume that this feature is not developed by Zomato, but this feature it wants to provide to its users, right? Now, again, here API can be useful. Let's see how. So let's say for an example, there is one location service provider. Now it could be Google Maps or whatever, right? So let's say for an example, there is one location service provider. Again, the concept remains same. So Zomato is, as a client, is asking for a location service. Again, the same thing, right? Location service provider will ask, hey, please provide the token, right? Now Zomato will say, okay, this is the token. So in this case, instead of T token, it is a location service token, or in other words, it will be a API token, right? So in API world, we have something called as an API token. Instead of T token, in this world, API token works, right? Location service API token to be more specific, right? So again, location service provider will say, okay, it will verify it. Yeah, it is okay. Then it will allow this client to access its service, location service in this case, right? Simple as. Now, one more thing, right? If we look at our tea shop example, tea can be consumed by n number of clients, right? So if I can order tea, you can also order tea, and various different users can order tea, isn't it so? Right? So same resource, it can be accessed by multiple clients. So location service, it can be used by multiple clients. Like we see, right, in WhatsApp also, WhatsApp application, we can share our location. In Uber application also, we can track our cab, where it is, how far it is, right? So same service can be consumed by multiple clients. So consumers can be multiple, right? So this is also one thing we need to keep in mind. Now, service can be any, right? It can be payment service also, right? Like for an example, I'm ordering a new smartphone on Amazon. Moment I add that into my cart, I need to pay the money, right? If I am choosing an option of online payment. In that case also, the concept remains same, right? Payment service nowadays is provided by multiple applications like Amazon, PhonePe, and so many applications, right? But the basic concept remains same. So in the next session, guys, we'll be covering the types of APIs, right? It is very, very interesting, trust me, right? So that's all for today's session, guys. Thanks for watching with us. I'll see you guys in the next session. Thanks for watching.